First and foremost, I think a lot of people are concerned about what's happening to all the people who work for you, because there's concern not just about the players and the owners and everything, but what's happening within the Lions organization and staff and what you guys are doing during this lockout.
Well, I think, and that's an important question, Don, because does get lost in the dialogue. You talk about players, you talk about teams, but the people who work for us, not only the people who are in our front office or part of our staff, but also the people who work down at the stadium, who are counting on these jobs as part of their income for the year. We have to watch out for those folks, and we're going to take every measure we possibly can to make sure that those people are taken care of to the best of their ability. But if this goes on a long time, it's inevitable that everybody's going to have to share the pain. That'll start with me, with our head coach, with Martin, and eventually will impact the organization top to bottom. Hopefully, we never get to that point. And we're focused on trying to get a deal right now, so we never get to that point.
Well, you mentioned that about everybody making a sacrifice. I see that the commissioner's now working for $1 this year. Is that a PR move to help the fans say, "Oh, look, he's usually makes millions and millions of dollars"?
Well, I think it is a commitment on his part and on several other executives at the NFL. I think you'll see teams around the league who are doing similar things. I know employees at the league office are all making a sacrifice, just like employees at the Lions are all going to eventually have to make a sacrifice. I hope it never gets to that. Again, our focus is on getting ready to play this year. It's getting ready for the 2011 season. We're not going to make any changes staff-wise, any sort of furloughs or those kinds of things as we're getting ready, at least for the near term. Our plan is to get ready for the draft. Our plan is to get ready for the season, and that's where we have to keep our focus. I think it's important now more than ever to keep our staff focused on getting ready for the 2011 season, keep our fans focused on the 2011 season, because the last thing any of us want to be talking about is a bunch of people bickering back and forth about a labor deal.
Is it a weird feeling for you?
It is different. It is different because right now we'd be a week away or a couple days away in some years from having the players back, starting their off-season program, working out, and the focus should be on football. Anytime it's not, and this is a little like when we have a rookie who's missing a few days of training camp and people are focused on his contract. That's not what we want to be focused on. That's not what people want to come out and support. That's not what gets people excited. It's the tough part of the business that nobody wants to focus. Nobody should focus on. We should be focused on playing football. So it is a little weird.
How, I guess, in tune are you to the fact that it looks like billionaires fighting with millionaires, and in our city at least, it's tough economic times?
Well, there's no question it's tough economic times, and I think the thing we can't lose focus on is the support that our fans give us. We can say we feel bad and we relate to the fans, but the reality is they support what we do. If it weren't for our fans, we wouldn't have the NFL. We wouldn't have the kind of competitive atmosphere, the kind of television ratings, the kind of full stadiums that we have without them. And what they want is football, and we need to focus on that. And I think you make a good point in that it drives it home when we're here in a city where so many people sacrifice on a daily basis to keep us going. And we have done that throughout our history. We do it daily, and we're prideful in showing up to work every day, and that's what we want to get back to as fast as we can.
Doesn't it seem a little crazy to the guy on the outside looking in that you can't figure out a way to divvy up equally $9.3 billion?
It does. It does, and I think that's, we came to the players a couple of days ago with a very comprehensive proposal that addressed everything. That wasn't sufficient to them, but they've chosen to go in the litigation route. We don't agree with that. I don't personally agree with that. I think if that proposal wasn't sufficient, then let's sit back down at the table and figure out what is. Because as you said, the pie is big enough. We should be able to figure this out. We should be able to get back to the focus that we should have had all along, and that's playing football. We have a lot of respect for our players. We got some great guys in the National Football League, some tremendous guys in our locker room. The guy who's the representative for our Players Association is Kyle Vanden Bosch. Fantastic guy on the field and off the field. It's that partnership that we have with them, the relationship that we have with them, that really ought to, I hope, carry the day here, not a bunch of lawyers in courtrooms.
Are you concerned that this thing will linger for quite a long time, maybe actually into the games, or do you think once the games are here and there's no paychecks for the players and the people aren't making money, that something quicker will happen.
Boy, I hope it's before that. I mean, we've got a long time before the even training camp would start at the end of July, long time before we start playing preseason games and certainly playing regular season games. And I hope we get back to the table soon. It's still the middle of March. We still have a lot of time, and if we focus on getting a deal done, and both sides focus and are meaningful in doing what they say they want to do, and that is to get a deal done, then we should be able to long before we're starting to play regular season football games.
Traditionally, don't you see that happen, though, Tom, in negotiations? When it gets down to crunch time, finally something gets done?
Yeah, but the question really is what's crunch time, and we want to have quality football on the field. We don't want to miss training camp. We don't want to miss the preseason or regular season. And you have a lot of players out there right now. There's 500 players who are free agents. They want to know what their situations are, and teams want to be able to go and add some of those players to their rosters, including us. So you've got to have a period of free agency in there. You'd like to have the time to have the kind of off-season and prepare. We're fortunate in that we don't have a lot of change this year in the front office or in our coaching ranks, but there are a lot of teams out there with new head coaches, new coordinators. They need time to assimilate. So, the question of when that real deadline is, when is crunch time, I think crunch time is now, because we've got to get a off-season together so that we can make sure that we put that best product on the field for the Detroit Lions and for the National Football League as soon as we can.
Players contend that the owners are not opening the books and being truthful about the money. Is that true or not true in your mind?
Well, I think that in our situation, the players have access to more financial information about the league than we at the Detroit Lions do. They know more about the other 31 franchises than we do. And they have enough information, I think, to make a very informed, intelligent business decision, just as they have had the access to that information for the last 17, 18, 19 years, as we've had a great collective bargaining relationship. So I think that's there. I think that obscures the issues a little bit. It's easy to talk about, but it's only a slice of the real issues that go on. And I think most importantly, that's reflective of the fact that nobody wants to talk about open books or revenue splits or those kinds of nuances. People want to talk about football, and they want to talk about Matthew Stafford and Ndamukong Suh and Calvin Johnson, and that's what we should be talking about. And I think there's a lot of incredibly intelligent people on both sides of the table, players and clubs, that could sit down and get this thing worked out, and we owe it to our fans to do that.
In your mind, what is the one or two key issues from keeping this thing from coming together right now?
Well, obviously, it's number one, it's figuring out the right economics that work for the players and that work for the clubs, so that the game is healthy long term. It's obviously tremendously healthy right now. We owe it to the game of football to keep it healthy. Those who have come before us, who have built the NFL into the tremendous institution that it is right now, have left us an obligation to continue that legacy and build on it, players and teams alike. So number one, we got to figure out the economics. There's enough in the pie that we can make this game sustainable. We can continue to find ways to invest in it and grow it and make it something that generations of fans to come want to continue to support like they have in the past and like they do right now. Secondly, I think you've got to deal with things like player safety. You've got to continue to look at the rules. You've got to continue to manage the offseason in a way that keeps players on the field as much as possible, whether that's in a given season or for the duration of their careers. And that's something I think we've made some progress on, but we have to continue to focus on it and not let the economic issues get in the way of some of the competitive issues that are out there.
I would assume it's heartwarming to you to see that some of your players are on their own, getting together and going to do workouts, and I think Kyle Vandenbosch is behind a lot of that.
He is, and that just speaks volumes of Kyle and of the players that we have. We got some great guys in that locker room, and they are committed to what we're doing as a franchise. And in large part, we're committed to them because they're enabling us to build the kind of program that we want. And we really are in this thing together. And I look forward to a day in the hopefully very near future where they're back in the building and we're playing football.
Does this in any way stain the game?
I don't think it detracts from what the focus should be, which is the field. I think if we get this thing solved quickly, I think it becomes a distant memory. Just like, again, the rookie contracts. People talk about it, and guy missing a few days of training camp, and Ndamukong Suh missed a few days of training camp last year. Everybody's up in our, oh, geez, what's going to happen? And lo and behold, a couple of days later, after he's in camp and he's wrecking havoc on quarterbacks, it's a distant memory. And this can be a distant memory, too, if we let it. If we focus on what's important, get back onto the field, get back to the negotiating table first, then get onto the field, and it becomes a distant memory. If we let it get tied up in litigation, let lawyers and judges and people who don't, who's quite frankly, whose first obligation isn't to the game, isn't to the fans, if we let them take over the process, then it does have the ability to stay in the game, and that would be a shame.
All right, so what do you do all day with no football? What do you do in the office, man?
There's, for better or for worse, there's still a ton of work to do. We're getting ready. I mean, it's not as though we've locked the doors. I mean, as I said, we are getting ready to play football, and we have the draft coming up. We have, and it's business as usual in a lot of different ways when it comes to preparing, and we have to be ready for anything. The rules could change. We could come to an agreement. A judge could say one thing or another. We have to be ready to go because our obligation is to the team, to the organization, and most importantly to our fans, to make sure that no matter what happens in this, that the Detroit Lions are best positioned to take advantage of the rules as they exist at any given moment in time. And that requires a lot of preparation, a lot of work, and that's what our entire staff is doing right now.